Get Bernie, I've got to click the go live button.
Okay.
All right, it's ready.
Yeah.
Go on the table. 3, 2.
Hi everyone, we're going live on 2 platforms today, so I'm just going to sort out some gremlins and then we're going to get introducing for everything that we're going to do today. Just waiting for the team to say we're all good on both ones. Yeah, so hi everyone, my name's Susan. I'm part of the Hatch team here. I'm in Sydney today. Behind the scenes, I've got Richard. He's going to be helping me out by answering all of your questions. So don't forget to add whatever you want into the chat so that we can do all of that. And Bernadette's also here, so you might see her moving about, but mostly behind the scenes for those guys. Yeah, so thanks so much for coming. Like I said, I'm in Sydney today. It's kind of a grey bit of a day, so let us know where you're in from. I can see we've got a couple from the UK, some from Bangalore in India, and California, so it's great to see you coming across from all over the world. So today we're doing this as part of our back to school campaign, and I thought that we could share some cool little projects that are actually all part of the Hatch Academy. So of those of you who are Hatch users, who has been already using Academy? Do you love it? How far into it have you gotten? Are you just started? So let us know what you think about the Academy. And Richard's going to post the link for me about what projects that we're working on today. Don't worry if you don't have all your projects ready. You don't have to stitch along with us, but hopefully we can give you some hints and tips along the way to make it a bit easier for you. And I can see now we've got some people from Georgia. Is that Georgia the country or Georgia the state? And then we've got people from Canada and New Zealand coming in, so that's really cool as well. So thanks so much for joining us. Also, apologies if my voice is slightly squeaky. I am recovering from a cold, so it has been much drinking of hot lemon and tea for me to try and get my voice ready. So apologies if I get a bit squeaky. So like I said, we're going to be working today on things from the Academy, specifically things for the back to school campaign, because for many people across the world, the kids going back to school, and it's always fun to make something for them, get them all excited about the new year, particularly for anyone, dragging their feet and it's like, I don't want to go back. So it's a really nice thing to get started. So we're going to be working on charms today. So charms are actually a second part of a class in the Academy. The first part of the class is learning how to do patches and badges, which are super popular. We all love a patch and a badge. So then this is just the next level of that. So what we're going to end up with is like a cute little basketball here. This one's got a little loop on the top. We're also going to be stitching out, I was going to say a soccer ball and then went to correct myself and say a football. So I will inadvertently say soccer because it is soccer here in Australia, but apologies to everyone who knows it as football, but we're going to have a football and a basketball today with our different projects, and I'm going to be using 2 different kinds of machines. So I'm going to be using our multi-needle machine here and our single needle machine. So what you'll find with all of the projects in the Academy is that you can actually do them on either type of machine. So it doesn't matter what you are starting with. You don't have to do a big spend. You can sort of, ease your way in and work your way up to wherever you would like to be. Finding out that there's a little bit of an echo. Give me a sec. I'm just going to see if I can move some things. Maybe I can make that stop. Hopefully that helps a little bit. I am in the office, so you will hear some office noises going about as well. We have put up our sign saying that we are live streaming, but I'm sure at some point we will get some office noise about that as well. No worries. Looks like we've got some more people coming in from across the world. We've got from Wisconsin and Minnesota, and I never know to say if it's Arkansas or Arkansas. So someone can tell me which way to actually say that, because I'm never actually sure. But let's go through what we're going to need for our project today. So like I said, we're going to be doing our basketball first up. So we're going to be stitching on some felt. Now I've chosen felt today because it's a little bit easy for us to use when we're doing the live stream, but with any of the charms, what we really want to look for is a fabric that doesn't fray. So something that's quite solid and doesn't give off too much fray. So felt is perfect for that. You can use vinyls and corks, but if you are going to use vinyls and corks and you're using the downloaded files from the Hatch Academy, and all of these files are available in the Academy, just watch your stitch density because you might puncture out and you might do a bit of perforation. So maybe do a little bit of experimenting if you are going to be using one of those types of fabrics. But for today, we're going to be using some felt. So we need some felt. We need some ribbons to create our little loops for the tops of things, and we need some hardware to make our little charms hang off. Now, with the hardware, it's sometimes people are like, oh, I don't know where to get a split ring, or I don't know where to get, D-rings and things. If you have someone in the family who goes to lots of conferences for works, guaranteed every time they go to one of those conferences, they will have gotten a lanyard. Harvest lanyards. They're so good for it. They have so much great hardware that you can use for all of these cool projects. So do look around. You will be surprised what you have at home. So it's felt, ribbons, hardware, and for the first project in particular, we're going to need some tearaway stabilizer. So the other day, I was talking to someone about the stabilizer, and they're like, I've mixed up all my stabilizers. I don't know which one is which in my stash. How do I know the difference? And I was like, tearaway tears. And they never thought to test it. So if you have just randomly got some samples, or you've been stashing things away and you're like, I can't remember, then we're going to just test. So just test with your tearaway. Now, I can see in the questions that people are asking if we're going to be digitizing or stitching out today. Today, we are just going to be stitching out and giving you tips on the stitch out. Everything for the digitizing and actually how to do this, you will find entirely in the Hatch class, so in the Hatch Academy class. And I thought for our live stream, the best thing is to give you stitching out tips, because the best digitizing tips are already in the Academy, and you can go back to them time and time again until you perfect your skills, and you can go at your own pace rather than trying to always be like, I saw that once in a live stream, where do I find it again? So if we find the things that teach you more about digitizing and we keep those in the Academy, it just makes it a little bit easier for your projects going forward, because you've got a really good reference point there and you can take little notes and things on that. Okay, so I'm going to get started on doing our project. Now, our first project, we're going to be floating in the hoop and adding a ribbon chain. So I've got my hoop all hooped up. This is 2 layers of tearaway. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my little ribbon. So what I've done here is I have taken my ribbon, I have folded it in half, and I've added some tape to it. So I'm going to tape that down in the middle of my hoop. It's always when you try and do this live that the tape doesn't hold. So hopefully we won't meet that gremlin today. Okay, so we're all taped in. My ribbon might be a little tricky to see. It's actually a reflective ribbon because that's what I had on hand, and I thought it would be kind of cute as a little dash of reflective there as well. All right, so we've got all of that hooped up, and now I'm going to put it into the machine. Now, previously, I'm just going to adjust the screen a little bit just so you can see. Yeah, that makes it a little bit easier for you to see. I hope everyone can see that on both screens. So I've already got it set up and my design is centered. Now, charms are quite small. You could set them up so you're doing multiples at the same time, and all of that is gone through in the Hatch Academy class. But today, I just wanted to do one just because it makes it a bit easier. So my machine's all set up, and now I'm going to prep my piece of felt. So I've already got it cut to approximately the right size. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some tape to it so that I can tape it down and float it inside the hoop without having to hoop the whole thing. If you've never done floating before, some people like to pin, some people like to use spray adhesive, some people like to use tape. I'm a big fan of either pinning or using tape. I don't particularly love spray adhesives in my machine, mostly because it gums my machine up a little bit. And I tend to find that you go through things like needles a little bit more, and it's a little bit harsher on your machine. So I do prefer to use some tape. So what I've done here, this is a double-sided tape I'm using here, so you can see it here and here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the first line of the embroidery as an outline, and then I'm going to take this down. So hopefully the noise of the machine isn't too bad. If you are noise sensitive, maybe just hit mute for a little bit. Now, I can actually stop and show you where we're at now. So what we've done is, you can see I've got my ribbon and it's all taped down, and then I have done my stitch out of my initial start to the design. So now I can take my piece of felt and I can cover it up. Now, what I would suggest to do is where your loop comes up, let's try and cover the loop with at least part of the fabric. It's not going to get stitched on, but what it's going to do is it's going to stop your machine getting accidentally caught in that piece of ribbon. So it just makes it a bit easier for you. Cool, and I can see that people are asking some questions there. If you've got any extra questions about floating and in the hoop, please just ask away. As always, the tape. Got it. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong when you're doing a live, I have found. As soon as I start to demo anything, it's always just a slightly nerve-wracking because it goes down. So now I've taken off, you can see my shiny pieces. I'm going to line it up. This is also a really great way if you're trying to be very economical about using of your fabrics. You can use a really small amount because as long as you've got it securely taped in, you're all good there. So now my hoop looks like this, and you can see you cannot see where the ribbon is at all. So the machine is not going to get caught there in any way. Now, mostly the machine's not going to be a problem, but what we want to try and do is see what, sorry, what we want to try and do is minimize the amount of issues that we may come ahead. All right, so let's go to our next part of stitching. So now, people are asking about some of the designs on the sides. So yeah, we've just been renovating, so it's a bit different. Now, this next part of the machine is going to run for a little bit. As it runs, I'm not going to try and talk over it because that makes it a little noisy for people. So I'm just going to let the machine run, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to keep talking about the things as well.
Susan, Patty's on stitch. I'm reading to you how to make patches. Okay.
All right, so I've just stopped it. This one's a little tricky for you to see because it's orange on orange, but we've done our first sort of amount of stitching, laying everything down. And this is where if you're using a vinyl or a cork or something which is a more plastic type fabric, which has less fibers to it, that you want to watch your density because this would puncture out your fabric a little bit. So look at this step if you are using one of those fabrics or you do want to use one of those things as well. So Patty's asking how to make patches. So this is the stitching out that you would see of a patch, but you can also go, there's two different classes on patches, and charms, which we're doing today, is kind of the third step in that on Hatch Academy. So you look for badges and patches and they'll take you all through it as well. But lots of what we're going to be talking about today is the same type of thing. All right, so I'm going to put this back under the machine. I'm going to keep stitching. Okay, so the machine's just going to keep stitching. If I talk now, can you guys all hear me, or is it a little bit too loud? Just let me know, and we'll figure out whether it's easier to do it this way or not. Cool. Okay, so everyone's saying they can hear. Okay. So I'm just going to let the machine stitch out. It's currently doing the background stitch of the charm at the moment. And just to go on from what Patty asked about the different badges and patches, what you're looking for is a whole bunch of outline tools and different ways to construct. So if you haven't yet bought a patch, you won't have all of your access to Hatch Academy. But if you are a Hatch owner, you will get full access to the Academy. So you can just go into the Academy and there you'll actually find all of your links for your different classes, and you can just work your way through the classes on those. Now, if you've done lots of academies and you're kind of like, okay, I want to expand my skills some more, we've also got the new How to Digitize workshop in there as well. So that's brand new, and that's just been added in. So if you're a Hatch Digitizer 3 level, you've got access to that workshop as well. It's super fun. I actually signed myself in the other day, and I've been working my way through the lessons because no matter how much you know, going back to the basics is such a good fundamentals for you, and it makes you a better digitizer, and it makes you think about things in a way. So it's a really great way to like reskill yourself or upskill yourself as well. So if you haven't yet had a look at that, definitely check that out. If you don't currently use Hatch, maybe you're sneaking in, having a little bit of a look, and you're using a different brand, no problems at all. But if you do want to swap across to Hatch, there is a great special happening at the moment as well. So I'm going to get Richard to put all of the details into the links there for you about the sale prices as well. So if you are looking at coming across and using Hatch, that's a great gift to get used to as well. So about halfway through on the actual filling in to stitch there of our patches. With any patch and charm, one of our goals is to make sure our stitching is nice and black. And that's where stitching on something like felt is fantastic because it has this lovely smooth surface. You can, of course, choose to use something fuzzy like a fur or anything with a texture, but just be aware that there are going to be some extra issues in there as well. See, Richard's added some extra bits in there as well. Has anyone else tried making the charms from the files already, or do you already make your own charms? If you've got any of your own designs, that'd be so cool to see. Maybe later in the week, we might drop in a little bit of a hint. So you're on a hatched page at the moment, but there's also a hatched Facebook user group, which is fantastic. A lot of people sharing all of their hints. What we might do is we might do a little charms challenge there later in the week, just to see what people have been up to and see if you've been inspired to create your own charms or just to stitch out the ones from the class as well. Apologies, my fault for the better. So like I said earlier, you don't need to have a big multi-dimension. It's very fun to play. I must say, I enjoy coming to work and using the big one. You can also use a single dimension as well. So the next one we're going to do is on the second machine. And you know, as we all know, we don't all have space and size to start things. And I'm going to go through that as well. All right, so Richard's just dropped in a nice little poll there if you're on our YouTube stream, asking about whether you already knew about the Hatch Academy or not as well. So if you're on YouTube, be sure to answer that one. Now, the machine was a little fast for me, so I do have one tiny stitch of black, but here we have our orange on orange for our basketball stitching. And now we're going to go in and add our black stitching to actually create the shading of the basketball. After that step, we're then going to do the section so that instead of having this as our back, we're going to end up with a nice clean finish back like we have on our little sample charm. So I'm just going to keep an eye and make sure we can do that. But the next step is just to do all of these outlines on it. So I'm just going to let the machine run. I'm going to do that. What you will find is with the density of stitching, sorry, this noise as it starts up, I'm always going to remember that. With the density of stitching, whenever you're creating a badge or a patch or a charm, you just got to make sure you keep it nice and tight so you don't get any of that puckering, which is why one of the reasons floating really kind of helps you because you get a bit smoother. But also your fabric choice makes a big difference there. So always try and choose something that's sturdy, that has a bit of oomph to it. Nothing too light and because otherwise you're going to end up with issues which you can avoid by choosing a better fabric. So always keep that in mind. Match your fabric to your stitch type, to your end issue. Because if you try and do things that are too experimental, sometimes it's giving yourself a little bit of a headache and you don't actually need that. Okay, so Richard's just said that there's a question come through. Do you want to keep your charm in a simple shape or can you do something cool like a ballerina or something? And the trick is all about how you're going to cut the edges at the end. So obviously with a basketball, it's quite easy. It's a nice circular shape. So once we stitch through, what we'll see is, so I'm just trying to keep an eye on the machine at the same time so it doesn't skip a stitch. Sorry, it got to the next step and the big machine just kept going on me. One moment. All right, so now we have our basketball and it's all got our line, so it looks like an actual basketball. If we do a sneaky little peek through here, you can actually see it. A little ribbon is in there too, but it's nicely tucked away. And so now we're going to add the backing to it. So much like we did with the front, I'm going to take my piece of felt and I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to tape it into position. And as I tape, I will keep going on about our question about what kind of shapes you can do. The trick is how you're going to cut them out at the end. So if you want to have a shape which has got lots of ins and outs, totally it will work. But what you have to think about is how clean a cut are you going to get on the outside that will make that charm look really nice at the end. Too many small edges and too many ins and outs can detract from how nice and pro looking your charm actually looks. So if we want to keep it a little bit more simple, what you could do is maybe it's a ballerina inside a different shape and make your shape a little bit more interesting. So maybe it's a ballerina inside a star, or maybe it's a ballerina inside of a cupcake, or something that's a bit more interesting than just a square. Like a square would totally work, but you know, we can do better than that. So let's try and be a little bit more creative. But yes, you could totally do different shapes inside of there. And you'll actually see in the Hatch Academy class, there's a couple of different shapes in there as well. All right, so this is the front of our hoop. We're all hooped up, ready for that. And this is what the back of our hoop looks. As we rehoop this back into the machine, be very careful that this sits nice and flat against your machine and doesn't pucker or wrinkle when you put it back in the machine. So we're just going to keep an eye on that as we put it back in. That is a little easier to do on a machine, which has got a free arm, I've got to say. Okay, so now we're going to do our back end and we're going to go from there. Again, hooping up tightly also really helps when you're doing things like this, like when I'm demoing and I'm taping it in and out. If my hooping wasn't as nice and firm, what you'll find is that it moves more and then the lines don't line up. So hooping is a great way to make sure that that is up and down as well. All right, I'm just trying to read the comments as well and see if there's any extra questions. Oh, I'm so glad, Patty, that you're learning lots of things. That's really fantastic. It's a great way to do things with the lives that you learn different like that as well. So at the moment, we're just doing a nice big sacking stitch around the edge to create a very good extra section. One thing I didn't mention is that if you are doing a patch which is going to be noticeable on both sides and you're not sliding in that extra piece of fabric underneath to make sure it looks super smooth and very clean on the back, maybe think about what colour bobbin thread you're going to use because that is going to be visible. So maybe do have to think about your bobbin thread. Even here on my sample one, I've used a white bobbin thread. I really should have used a black to make it look really pro, but I didn't have black. So I just used the white there. All right, our machine's singing at us, so it means we're ready to show. And here is our finished basketball. So I'm just going to pop it out of the hoop so I can show you. Now, I have noticed, mostly because I stopped the machine, I've got one extra little stitch showing up here. So I'm going to take my embroidery scissors and I'm just going to trim that there. If anyone doesn't have a pair of these curved embroidery scissors, they are the best. I've just recently swapped from little tiny snips to curved ones. Best things ever, I really got to say. Not shilling for a company, just made my embroidery better. Okay, so once we've got there, so this is our front, our back looks like this. Before we trim our actual felt, what you want to do is take away your tear away now, because it's way easier to tear it when it's in a big piece than when you're trying to tear a little tiny bit. So I'm just going to be kind of a bit brutal. Remember also you've got some tape in there too, so you might want to take out your tape. All right, and because of the lovely satin stitch border, it actually pulls away so easily. You get a whole circle. Now, you can also see, just going to get rid of some tape, neatly tucked away. So we've got our little basketball, and neatly tucked away is our little hanger. So it's a really great way. It's super smooth. There's no extra backing in there at all. So now I would cut this, being very careful to not cut my little hanger that I have just done. So I would cut around that. What I might actually do though is I'm going to leave this to one side and I'm going to start the next one on the machine so that I can cut and run one at a time, because otherwise we're going to run out of time. So I'm going to get it one started on the small machine. I might just have to move one of the cameras to make sure that we can actually see the little machine. So sorry if it gets a little blurry on you for a moment. Now on our single needle machine, I've already threaded up and put everything in, and I have also hooped our fabric this time. So rather than float our fabric, I've hooped it in this time. It's all good to go. What I am going to do is just pause just after a few stitches, and I'm going to trim that thread back so I get a nice clean start. Right. How's everything going? Just going to check in with the team and make sure everything's all right. Yep, we're all good. So the soccer ball here that we're stitching out, sorry, football, for those of you who follow the football, it's going to be created in a slightly different way, because this time we aren't adding a ribbon to it. So it's just a lay down stitch, outline stitch to outline where it's going to go, and now we can go on to the next part. And in the Academy class, we go through a couple of different ways. So we have our ribbon attachments, we have ways to add it where you can make a loop out of fabric, which is what we're happening here with the soccer ball. We've got ones where you can create your own eyelets and things like that. So if you are creating your own eyelets, so what will happen is you can see in the Academy class, it teaches you how to stitch the little eyelet, and then you can puncture it with something like this is my pattern making awl or aisle, depending on where you're from. It's a great way to go through. You can also get little punches. I have a little tiny chisel which I use for buttonholes for when I'm sewing garments. It's one of my most favourite tools, but a little tiny punch like that works perfectly for little eyelets as well. It's a great way to do it. All right. Now, does anyone have any other questions as we're going? Patty's asking about making step-by-step on the badges. Yep, head to the Academy. Honestly, I rewatched the Charms one last night just to give myself a nice little refresh to make sure that I was all ready for today, because it's always just, it's so easy and you can just go step by step. I paused halfway through to go make dinner, so, you know, it's not against a time zone. It's not like something like a live where you're like, I have to fit this in. So what I really like about the Academy, it's really on your terms, that you can come in and learn what you need to, drop in and out. If you do have the time and you can dedicate a little bit of time, you know, every week to learn a little bit more, you'll find that your digitizing and your embroidery skills just jump over and over and get better and better, which is what we all want. We all want to get better and produce really beautiful embroidery. Sorry, I'm trying to cut a circle and talk at the same time, and I realised, not all my skills lie in one set here. So I'm just going to try and do it. So what I've done is I've cut around the circle here. I've still left my little ribbon up here. So now when I get to the ribbon, I'm going to cut each of the two sections individually so I don't accidentally cut my ribbon, because I'm sure we have all done that where we have done something and at the last moment we have ruined our project that we are working on. So I'm going to try and not do that. Richard's asking about what kind of machines people are using on our YouTube feed there, and be super interested to know what you've got. I myself have a tiny little single needle machine at home. I've only got a 10 by 10 hoop, which causes me to get very creative with my embroideries, which I kind of love because that's all I have space for. I do get to come to work and play on big machines, so that's kind of cheating, I think. But, we all have different machines, and it'll be great to know what you've got. All right, so I've cut out, this is our little charm now. It looks very cute with its little one. And like I said, you can see on the back here, you can see if I'd done it with a black bobbin fill, it would have been a bit nicer. I really should have done that. So do think about the end of your project and the differences that really elevate it from being, it's okay, to being really good. And honestly, I really should have done that because it would have really made that big difference there. So do think about that. And then what you can do is you can then attach it onto any one of different kinds of hardware. So now I've got a little piece of hardware and I can attach it onto a backpack, onto a school bag, onto your basketball kit so you know which one's yours. Because, as we know, trying to get kids to put their sports uniforms in their bags is always a bit tricky. So we have to do that. So people are asking different kinds of questions here. I'm going to try and answer some as the machine is stitching out on our soccer ball. So people are asking about what kind of stabilizer you use on silk. So what kind of silk is going to be my next question. So is it a really lightweight silk? Is it a silk satin? Is it a heavyweight dupion silk? So silk is the fiber. What we're going to look for is the weight of the fabric that's made from. So if you can give me a little bit more information, we can have a little bit more of a discussion about that one on that. Someone's asking to double-sided, make Christmas decorations double-sided. Could you use this kind of technique? Yes, you definitely could. Would you have to make one of the designs sideways flipped? Sorry, that's not reading correctly. I think what they're asking is how would you make the double side? What you could do is either have the same outline shape stitched to and fold, or if your hoop is big enough, let me grab a hoop so I can show you. If your hoop was bigger, you could put them side by side and have a fold. Having a fold is not as nice. I would be more tempted to stitch two and then have an outline stitch that joins the two together. Lining that up, a little bit trickier though, but yes, you could definitely do those kinds of things as well. And Kim has jumped in, hi Kim, to say that she uses a lightweight tearaway on silk and cutaway on heavier silk, which is pretty much what would the answer would be. But it's all about making sure that your weight of your fabric matches the weight of your stabilizer, matches your end goal. So it's all about thinking about it in stages and going through as well. Lots of people are very lucky to have 10 needle machines. I'm very jealous. And some single needle machines happening there as well. Yeah, some lovely machines people have got. That's very good. Very lucky people. Hopefully you're using them and getting the most out of Hatch Academy and now the new How to Digitize course as well, so that you can really produce as much as you can. Now, we were scheduled to go for 45 minutes today. Is everyone okay at staying a little longer so we can finish off our soccer ball patch? Yeah, looks like everyone is full. So just while I'm waiting for the soccer ball to stitch out, I'm going to do a little bit of prep work. So much like our basketball, we are going to add a different fabric in underneath so it has a nice clean finish. So I've got my extra piece of felt here. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to add my tape to it so that it will be a bit faster to get that done as well. What I'll also ask is if you are enjoying the live stream, and I do hope that you are, if you have any requests or wish lists for things that you would like to see live again, can you drop them in the comments for us and we'll add it to our list, and hopefully we can come back and do one again for you soon. Hopefully when my voice is slightly better too, because I do feel like I'm being very squeaky, so I do apologise. Alright. So I've prepped up my extra piece of felt for the back of my soccer ball, and what I have done here is you can see one side I have taken off the double-sided tape already, so it's just shiny and clear, and the other side still has its edging in. The reason I'm going to do one side first is it helps me line it up on the fabric and then smooth it out. If I try and get both done at once, sometimes I end up with a wrinkle, and I really don't want a wrinkle. So I'm going to put in one side and smooth it up. And again, even though I have hooped a whole section of felt on this one, if you are trying to be more economical and use smaller amounts of fabric, knowing how to put in just the right amount for your backing or underneath piece there to make your patch look really nice is a good way to do. With your ribbons and your hardware, like I said, check and see what you've got around the house in terms of your hardware that you can use. And with your ribbons, there's a whole bunch of different things that you can use. So I have some different reflective tapes. So I'm just checking on the machine. So machine's just stopped with one colour. I'm going to rethread. One of our kangaroos has just hopped away there, so no worries. Okay, so I've just rethreaded with our black thread, and we're now going to do the hexagons on top of the soccer ball, and then it's going to come back and do our extra sections for us. But it's still looking very nice and smooth and very flat. Because we hooped it in nice and tight, we don't have any puckering or wrinkling around the outside. So lots of people answering our questions about our different types of our machines. So it looks like 65% of you have a single needle machine. Okay, single needles. And lots of you are very lucky and have a multi-needle machine, which is up to 34% of you on our YouTube there. So it's a great way to know that you're doing both types of things. And like I said, your machine can grow with you, or your skills can grow with your machine. It doesn't matter as long as you just keep practicing. That's how you're going to get better at embroidery. So we're just going to keep practicing and doing different things as well. And yes, Richard and Bernadette have just reminded me that we do have a brilliant blog filled with lots of different hints and tips. You'll also find in the blog lots of free designs. I know everyone loves a bit of a free design. So if you want to have a free design which maybe highlights a new to you technique, or a technique you haven't used before, the blog's a great place to start, because we'll quite often match a giveaway of a design to a new type of technique, or a technique we want to highlight. So definitely take a look at that. You can also find free designs on the website as well. It's under one of the extras in there. so you can just have a bit of a look around. If you haven't been to the Hatch website for a while, definitely go take a look. You'll find that there's lots of extra things in there. If you've been a follower of our social media, you'll notice that I'm trying to highlight more of the things that are our add-ons, so all of our beautiful new KBCs that are in there. Been having lots of fun stitching those out and making different things. Tons of fun the other day making something for National Dog Day for some cute little Frenchies that are here in the office. I was totally advocating for dogs in the office today and was sadly overruled. But really great way to make some fun things for the dogs using the KDCs there as well. And I also completely loved the cross stitch gem, which I highlighted as a use for Black Cat Day, using one of the cats from in the office as well, because there is a very lovely black cat. So of course we had to use that as our inspiration. So it's a really great way to do those kind of things as well. So our machine's just stitching away, doing our extra pieces there. And it is one of the things on the single handle machine, it's a little bit easier because you do have to rethread while I'm talking. It makes it a little bit easier to keep an eye on it as well. So whenever we're stitching out things for social media, whether it's like our videos on TikTok or our shorts or anything like that, we use a mixture of the different machines here because we know that you have a mixture of the different machines as well. So hopefully that's it. So Narelle's asking, sorry you have to go to work, Narelle. Can you watch it after? Yes, it should be available after. It won't be available straight after because we're doing these as lives. There's normally like a half-hour processing thing, which we have no control over for both Facebook and YouTube. But after that, they will both be available live there for you to do as well. We also don't forget that we do have our back to school sale, and it is on the countdown, so make sure you don't miss out on that. So with the back to school sale, you get $200 off when you're buying Digitizer 3. Sorry, Richard just had to hand me his phone because I'm not wearing my glasses and I'm struggling to read, so I've just had to read my notes from my phone. So what you'll find with the sale is that you'll get Digitizer for on sale for $200 off. That's US $200 if you're not in the US. You also get bonus including in that is the Hatch Academy, and that means you can go and there's hundreds of lessons covering all different kinds of things. Like Patty was asking about, you can do badges, you can do patches, there's freestanding lace, there's lots of different projects, but lots of different skill building things that you can do in there as well. And then maybe you've had Hatch for a little bit and you also want to upskill yourself, or you're brand new and you really want to learn to digitize. The new How to Digitize course is amazing because it takes you from zero to hero basically. So what it's going to do is it's going to take you through the really basic fundamentals. And even those of us have been digitizing for a long time, if you go back to your fundamentals, you'll be like, I keep missing that step. And that's how you get better, because you keep remembering things. So definitely do keep an eye out on the sale. If you are subscribed to our newsletter, all of the sale information would have come through to you on the newsletter. There's also lots of banners on the Facebook page and group as well, with different things for that as well. You can also upgrade during the sale. So maybe you've started at a lower level of Hatch and now you want to come up a level. You can also upgrade. If you've maybe tried someone else's program and decided it's not for you and you want to swap to Hatch, that's also available. So you can also have a bit of a chat to us about that as well. So obviously we're going to tell you to use Hatch because we think it's the best, because it is. So do look into that as well. All right, I'm just trimming some threads as I chat. So now we have our little soccer ball. You can see we've got our little extra tab up the top here, which is built in. I'm going to add our backing fabric to this now. And apologies to everyone who has to go to work for running over time. I do apologize for that. Okay. I just move my tape so I can be a little bit more economical with my use of my felt. Might find a little bit of movement on one of the cameras. We're just plugging in for some extra power so that we don't lose any power. Okay, so front of my design looks like this, back of my design looks like this. I've just moved it up to the edge here so that you get nice coverage here. It also means I've got this nice flappy bit I can cut off later and make it look nice and clean and use it again for something else. So I'm just going to pop it under the machine. Again, when you pop it under the machine, make sure this bit stays nice and flat and doesn't get caught up in your machine. So I'm just double checking because Narelle has to go to work. So I am just checking. She's asking about more sending things wirelessly to the machine. Yes, we can totally do something like that for you, Narelle. Enjoy your day at work. Thank you for stopping by. Okay, so I'm back in. Everything's all nice and smooth. I'm going to hit go again. My presser foot. Just double checking. I've got a bit of a long thread here, so I'm just going to do a little bit of a trim. Is anyone else like me and doesn't want to walk away from their machine when it stitches out? I know they say, oh, you can just leave your machine running and it will do it. No, I have to watch it because I'm too worried that the design's not going to work out, or that one trim at a vital point could have made all the difference. So even I normally set my machine up and then maybe make myself a cup of tea before I push play and watch it go through, because I don't want to waste any of my project time making a mistake. So on our charm at the moment, it's now gone up, it's stitched around our edge, and now it's doing our outline for us. Now, in the Hatch Academy class, what I'll actually show you is some of those are set up as different colours, much like you would set up an applique to remind you when to do the steps. So if you find that a visual reminder like that about changing is really good, that's fantastic, particularly if you're using a single needle. If you are using a multi-needle like I did earlier, do watch out for the fact, like I did, I just programmed it all to be the same colours so I didn't have to change throughout as many needles. But then the multi-needle just keeps going. So do remind yourself to put in those stops as well. So St James is saying they have cats who thinks that their moving needle is fascinating, so they don't leave their machines for very long. When I was a kid, my mum had one cat which did that to the sewing machine, ran through the house, put thread absolutely everywhere, and when we finally caught him after he was like all puffed up with fur, it had not gone through his paw at all, but it had gone between his little toe beads and just caught the thread, but he got such a fright and he'd just gone for a run through the house. So thankfully, Cat was okay, but yes, try to not let your cats go near the machine. All right, so our machine has stopped. All right, so here we are. We have it all stitched out. You can see very easily now our extra little tab. And if I flip to the back, you can see that we have a nice clean finish. Again, probably should have used a different bobbin thread, but that's fine. We live and learn. And now you all know from my mistakes that if you use the same color bobbin thread, it would look more pro. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unhook this one. Does anyone have any last minute questions? And like I said, don't forget about the sale. You've only got a little bit more time on the sale if you want to come in and grab Hatch now and get all those extra bonuses like the Academy and the How to Digitize class. So be sure to do that as well, and make sure you take full advantage of that sale while it's happening. And if you already are a Hatch user, don't forget you do have access, if you're a Hatch 3 user, to that How to Digitize course and to the Academy. So go sign yourself up and set yourself a little bit of time each day or each week to work your way through that course, because like I said, it's amazing and it takes you from such fundamental basics. It just will make you better, because sometimes, like we all want to do, we all want to go from the basics to being extraordinary with very little work in between, and that's not unfortunately how embroidery works. So we do have to put in a little bit of work, but you'll find that it is just the way to go. I'm sorry, my voice is starting to go. Okay, so once again, my tearaway has done its job and made a lovely little charm shape for me. and my charm is all pulled out. If you tried to cut your felt first and then tried to pull away your tearaway, you're trying to tear your tearaway is like a tiny, tiny bit. So much easier to do it now and then to trim. All right, so we might finish up our live stream now, but we might jump straight into the Facebook group and we'll be there for the next 15-20 minutes as an AMA. So you can come in and ask us any extra questions. Might just be a little bit easier on my voice if I can type the answers rather than speak them. So we're going to be around in the Facebook group. If you aren't a member of our Facebook group, come in on and join. There are links to it in any of the link trees across all our social medias, and you'll find in there lots of people doing lovely, inspiring things, answering each other's questions, lots of great information in there. So be sure to join the Facebook user group and take advantage of that great sale. Like I said, thanks so much for coming along. It's been great to have you all. Leave your questions in the Facebook group or add them through them. We'll try and get around to them. And if you've got any more requests for types of lives that you would like to see, add them on through. We'll do our best. And you can follow us on all of our social medias as well. All right, I'm just going to check in with the team and see if I've missed anything. We're all good. All right. Thanks so much to the team. They've been able to do all of the background work while I, stand around and chat. So that's kind of very lovely for me. It means I don't have to do two things at once. Thanks so much, everyone, for coming, and we'll talk to you all again soon. Thank you.